Hello and welcome to Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave. My name is Justin Davis, and as always, I'm joined by the man who counted Ric Flair's last match, we think, Mr. Pondwater Dave. What's going
Don't
on?
you start that we think shit. Don't you start that. That old man better not take this away from me.
You know he's going to.
Oh, probably. It was good while it lasted.
Who we got with us this week, Dave?
Well, our guest tonight is not only my friend, he's an incredibly talented actor, podcaster, and along with Trey Crowder, author of the best-selling book, Round Here and Over Yonder. You can catch him this Thursday night at the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And his podcast, Putting On Airs, drops every Friday wherever you steal your podcast. Please welcome the Buttercream Dream, Corey Ryan Forrester.
What's up, fellas? I was actually going to jump in there and start making fun of Pondwater Dave and Ric Flair, but I didn't know if it was inappropriate for me before I got introduced to like jump in. I didn't know if people could see me, so apologies. But yes, Pondwater, I have a theory actually that Ric Flair is going to come back for one match and one match only just because he's gotten tired of how many times you have claimed to have, called the last Ric Flair match, how many times you've posted about it. He's like, you know what? I've done almost everything I can in wrestling, but I haven't ruined this one man's life. So I'm going to do that. That's my theory.
Well, when
and
he does it,
I don't want him to take it away from you, but I have a feeling he's going to.
Well, when he does, we're going to have one hell of a Ric Flair memorabilia sale.
That's right.
In fact, it's going to trickle down to his daughter. It's going to become a Jade Cargill wall behind me. I'm going to punish them all. So how you doing, Corey?
Man, I'm great. Living the dream, just hanging out with the baby and promoting books and shows and, just doing that whole thing. How are you fellas doing today? Y'all just stay talking wrestling, huh? What a dream.
Yeah, that's right. I have a question about this book. I'm excited. What made you decide to write a book and tell the audience kind of what it's all about?
Well, what made me decide to write it first was money. Someone asked. I was lucky that during the pandemic, and we'll get into all that later. I know Pondwater wants to talk about it because he helped form what is now my career, and I mean that. But the pandemic was like, we're right in the middle of it. I had been doing stand-up that's what I did. Like in the whole comedy world, that's the only form of entertainment that I did. I go on stage, I tell jokes, that's it. Well, once it became evident to us, like, oh my God, we're not going back on stage for a long time, I had to start figuring some stuff out. In comes the Buttercream Dream. And then my popularity sort of kind of rises during the pandemic. And at that point, HarperCollins, my book agent called me and said, hey, HarperCollins wants you to write a book. Do you have any ideas? And I pitched them a lot of things that they were like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not that. And then
we meant good ideas.
Yeah. Right. And what ultimately though, I was sitting there thinking, and I think that because of the pandemic, we'd been at home so much, my brain was like wanting to get out of the house so much. And we were sort of starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I was like, travel book. Can I write a travel book? And they came back and said yes. And I shoehorned in there. I was like, by the way, we were hoping that you would pay to send us to the UK. And they were like, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that was going to be no, just do the stuff that so we don't have to pay for that. But they did. And there you go.
Well, it was genius that they did that, because when I was getting to the yonder part of the book, I wasn't as enthusiastic going into that because you'd covered places that I'd been and I could relate to. But now you were and I wasn't sure how I was going to like the yonder. And quite honestly, the yonder just completely took over. And I mean, y'all finished strong. I really love that part of the book.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel like, don't get me wrong, I was excited to write everything in the book. I was incredibly gracious for not only the opportunity, but just the fact that, they give me this opportunity because they know that I have fans that will buy it. That's great. That's humbling. I love it. But writing about all the places in the United States, I'd already been there, which again made it, I guess, easier to write or whatever. But the UK stuff just came pouring out because we were basically experiencing it and writing it at the same time. It's the only place in the book that we went exclusively for the book. Like we'd never been. So it was all fresh in our mind. It was just, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but like whenever you're surrounded by stuff that's different, like your imagination just goes this way or that way. And we were worried too. We're like, oh man, the places that we've been, we've got more jokes. It's going to be better. But I really do think that the Wanderlust sort of came through in print about how excited we were to write about Scotland in particular.
Yeah, and that and the interactions that, I mean, with your accent, you stood out like a sore thumb. I had that same experience in Quebec.
Oh,
So I know it, when they hear you talk, it's just, it blows their mind.
Yeah, everybody in Canada called me cowboy. Like literally everybody. Hey, cowboy, can I get a cigarette? Like a lot of Chinese women for some reason in this part of Canada I was at, all of them called me cowboy. I was for it. I'm pro.
That's a nice way of saying redneck.
I know, and I'm pro that because where I'm from, sometimes people call me gay. So cowboy is really nice to hear. I love going anywhere else in the world and being treated like John Wayne.
Yeah.
I always found that it was the J.R. Ewing mentality. If you're from Texas, you're like J.R. Ewing.
That's right.
So everywhere I went, that I would get that.
I like the little thing underneath the title there: a front porch travel guide by two progressive hillbillies. Yeah, yes, that's a
parenthetical. Thing. Yes, that's a thing.
I'm a progressive hillbilly. I'm proud of that.
Apparently, book companies really like long ass titles, and I know that because that was their idea to include that thing, because like I made up the title. It was Around Here and Over Yonder. I was like, boom, says exactly what it is, and they're like, no, we need a little bit more. And I'm serious that we wrote that the bottom part of that as like oh, this is way too long, surely they won't go for this. Like it was almost like a joke, and they were like, absolutely, that's it. So like we wrote that making fun of the idea that they wanted it to be longer.
Oh, there's Pondwater trivia. Yep, JR and Dave, yes, they were both shot in Dallas. And JFK, all three of them.
Who's
Only
in charge of the trivia there? Is that Tip?
That's Tip.
Yes.
Well done. Well done. Once again, proving that you are the talent in the family.
Oh, without question. 100%. When Amy refused to come on tonight because of your politics, I almost got Tip to sit in.
That's right. I figured that Amy would do that.
No, her son's playing. Her son
in the football game. I know. No.
Did she tell you?
Yeah, she already told me, because she's so sweet that she was like, I think Pondwater is going to try to rib you on some stuff, and I just wanted to let you know. And she goes, just play along. But yeah, she's too sweet. She didn't want me to think for 1 second that she was upset at me.
She cut you off, Dave.
But yeah, but I told her I was going to do that. She goes, "Don't tell him that. He'll hate me. He'll think I'm."
All right, I want to say who my favorite Corey Ryan Forrester character on the Twitter X gimmick is.
Okay,
and it is without question, hands down, 100%, the great, fabulous Miss Annie Fatneck fucking Jones.
Dude, you know what's so great is that's so many people's favorite, and it makes sense because it's the only one in which I don't show my stupid face. It is, and it's almost like it's almost cheating because everyone likes dog videos. Like if you just put a dog in something for a minute, you're gonna get at least 25,000 people that'll click on it just because, oh, that's a dog. And yeah, no one really likes me. They just like the Annie, the mutt.
Annie is over.
She's super over. And I think it's a good thing that she's not actually my dog and she's only over here every now and then, because like I'd be working her to death, son.
She'd get overexposed. She's like Andre the Giant. She only needs to work every now and then.
That's what I was kind of going for, is like she's an attraction. You know what I mean? She's not in every week. She's not a jobber. She's fucking, you bring her out for the pay-per-views and only 2 of them.
She's not a working champion. She's a Roman Reigns.
That's right.
Well, Corey, before we dive back into the book, I want to go back to, I know you started comedy when you were a teenager, but I want to ask you, how early did you start listening to stand-up comedians?
I can't remember a time when I didn't. So whenever you click on, all of a sudden, holy crap, I know that I'm alive now. It was kind of like that because my dad was a big fan, and we sort of had a rule. Like I can very briefly remember like, I remember the last episode of Johnny Carson. I was very young, but I remember it because it was such a big deal. Like, it was yeah, God, Jesus Christ, hell. That is a handsome young fellow. The very last month I had hair, you can sort of start to see on the sides where it's kind of thinning a little bit. But yeah, I do not look like that anymore. We had a rule, like my dad loved stand up, and so on Carson, or whether it be Leno or Letterman, if there was and I started to love it when I was a kid, and if the entertainment was a comedian that night, I got to stay up late. If it was like, if it was anything else, it was like, okay, it's your bedtime. But if it was a comedian, I got to stay up late. We would make a pallet on the floor. We would take every quilt my grandmother had ever made. And we're talking like, 3 feet deep here of blankets. And we're on the floor watching stand up. And, I remember when I was a kid, like, being interested in comedy, and I knew I wanted to do something in comedy, but like, to me, it was more like, I want to be on Saturday Night Live. And I think my reasoning for that was like, every single time they would announce, whether it be Leno, Letterman, or whatever, they would announce one of these comedians. It was always from Los Angeles or from New York, like, every time. And in my brain, I was like, that's where they make comedians. That's where you have to be in order to be a comedian. And then this guy, who we all know, he's on my Mount Rushmore of comedy for this reason, Jeff Foxworthy, comes along. I see him and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy looks and sounds just like my uncle, and he can do this. Like, I saw him on Leno, and that just sort of flipped the script. And I was like, that's what I'm doing.
Well, did you have comedy albums or cassettes?
When I was a kid, a lot of Jerry Clower. I don't know if you're familiar with Jerry Clower, but
right? Is that the guy?
No. That's Henny Youngman.
It's Henny Youngman.
That's
Justin might not be, but I am very familiar.
I know who he is. I can't remember what his gimmick
big time Southern storyteller. So like his whole thing was, I think he was a fertilizer salesman. Wasn't that his gimmick or something? He was a fertilizer salesman from the South, and he would go to these big events, and he was such a good salesman because he would tell all these insane stories that were apparently true. And people were finally like, dude, you need to just like do this. Well, he just started like recording himself telling these stories on albums, got popular. And then, he worked the whole South. So a lot of it was that, because those were like, my grandmother would have them because they were clean. You know what I mean? Anyone could listen to them. And I remember Dad having some Bob Newhart that we would listen to. And also what was cool was my dad is in advertising. So he would do a lot of spots. He would help out the local radio station. And every time there was a comedian at the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga, they would, come through the local radio station, and they would always leave their CDs and stuff. And they would end up giving these to my dad, which is the first time I heard, Tim Wilson, like a lot of these dudes, from the old school. And so, yeah, it was always like, dude, I've talked recently about like my pop culture blind spots. I was such a comedy freak when I was a kid that like, I would not watch a movie unless it was a straight up comedy. Like, I missed so many great action movies in the 90s because I was like, I'm listening to comedy, I'm watching comedy. And like, now it's the complete opposite. I barely ever watch comedy. I'll exclusively watch drama. I might have worn myself out.
I'm guessing Grandma Buttercream didn't have any Sam Kinison records laying around in there.
No, did not. But that's interesting that you mentioned Sam Kinison, because that was a very, very huge early influence of mine. Because like, Sam, he was a preacher, right? And so because of that, he obviously, as we all know, he turned away from the Lord Father God, and we need to save his soul. But so in his comedy, he's talking about the church stuff that I'm currently enveloped in. And like, I'm living that lifestyle. And I had begun to question it when I was like 9. My dad like always raised me. My dad's very conservative, but he's also kind of the reason that I'm not, because he taught me to like question everything, like the status quo is BS. So I took that as I should question the Bible, and nobody liked that. But then when like the preacher couldn't give me answers and just told me to shut up, I start gravitating towards Sam Kinison, who like was long dead at this point when I'm hearing all this stuff. But yeah, no, I love it. But no, that stuff was not allowed. That was the devil's stuff. And I would only get to listen to that when I was like at a buddy's house, and not only at a buddy's house, when me and my buddy snuck away from his house and went to his cousin's house. You know what I mean?
Stern
Well,
has so many crazy stories about Kinnison. My God, like how he dated the sisters at the same time, and like it's just
Yeah, man,
wild
and how
stuff.
he fathered Carl LeBeouf's child, and Carl LeBeouf had to pay child support for 18 years on this kid, only to find out that it was Sam Kinnison's kid
Yeah.
the whole time.
well, the reason I ask about the early stuff, did you ever listen to comedy and you laughed because it was funny, or they said something about Half Dirty, but then you remembered those jokes, and then you got a little older, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you got the joke for what it really was and got tickled about it all over again?
Absolutely. I don't have any great like examples right off the top of my head, but like there have been several, not just in stand up, but like in movies as well. You know, like Blazing Saddles is a great example.
Yes.
Where like I've loved that movie since I could hear and see, like, because it's my dad's favorite. It is my favorite. Like I think it's not only the greatest comedy of all time, I think it's top 5 greatest movies of all time. It was an insane achievement for what it was. And like, I loved the movie when I was there's so much great physical comedy in it that a 3 or 4-year-old can laugh at it. But like then like almost, and I would rewatch that movie like every year. And it seems like every year up until like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I would get another joke. It was like a time bomb, like a time release Adderall or something. So I've got to enjoy that movie. I got to enjoy it for like 20 years straight, and every single time I watched it, I got to experience something different because of the maturity level, you know?
And you say you watch that movie with your dad. What's cool is you hang on to those memories every time you see the movie. It puts you back in that spot. That was my dad's favorite movie. He loved
Really?
watching. I mean, like you said, he loved watching it. So then you remember that. My dad loved Stripes with John Candy and
Bill Murray.
And
Right.
Whenever I see Stripes, it reminds me of me and my dad watching that.
When I see a spatula, I want to give Teppy the Aunt Jemima treatment.
Yeah, those I consider like the movie Blazing Saddles and like Caddyshack and let's say Tombstone Patriot. These are some of my dad's favorites. I consider them like, I call them bridges because those are any of these movies. If me and my dad are like, I can tell that we're about to have an argument about something and I need to change the subject really quick, I just pull out a quote from one of those movies. It clean slates him completely. And then we just throw it on and nothing ever happens.
Black thing on him.
That's right. It just, yeah.
When I was a little kid, my parents had album. They were 78. That's how old these albums were. And my grandmother had Bob Newhart, and I'd listen to that at her house. But my parents had the Smothers Brothers.
Yeah, man.
And they had Red Fox.
Yeah, the party albums.
Yeah, well, Red Fox
was working. Your dick in the mashed potatoes.
Well, no, he couldn't say that then. So everything was suggested, like the new soap, Fug, F-U-G-G. If your husband comes home greasy, gritty, or grimy, tell him go fug himself.
Yep.
Or but I was saying that later on I would get those jokes, and he'd do a bit about candy bar. He lived next door to a candy bar salesman in Frisco. Every night his wife yelled, "Oh Henry, oh Henry." She kept it up till he gave her baby Ruth one morning. He was a powerhouse in his love nest. She must have had a Tootsie Roll or a big hunk. I wish I could have got in there with my Butterfinger.
And when you're a kid, you're just
all I'm hearing is candy bars.
Candy, right? And you can tell it's candy bars, but it's also like a rhythm of speaking that's interesting. Like you can pick up like, oh, there's like an almost soliloquy-esque thing about how he's talking. It flows. It's not just random words. Like there is some kind of meaning here, and I'm appreciative of that linguistically. And then later you go, oh, right. And it was funny because of this, this, and this.
And 50 years later, I can still recite it.
Exactly.
But I mean, he'd do the Santa Anita, the races, the horses, Cold Towel, Pussy Willow, and my dick. And you're just laughing. But then later on, I would get the jokes. And when I got my first stereo, my parents accidentally bought me a Richard Pryor album.
Nice. Which one? Live at Sunset?
No, it was before that.
Dave's old.
Oh, right. You're really old. I forgot.
Inward with a Seizure.
Ah, yes.
And so I'm listening to it, and I mean, Richard Pryor is going hard. Well, I went to ask my dad, "Hey, Dad, what's a seizure?" And he's like, "Why do you ask?" And I said, "Well, Richard Pryor says that this guy's having a seizure."
No.
and so he listens to the album, and he listens to it, and they take it away from me. But I'm a 7-year-old with a job, so I go up to Gibson's and buy another one because I thought it was funny.
That's right.
But I didn't get the jokes, and later I got the jokes. And then the first time that I had so much to drink that I got sick and was throwing up, I really got the joke.
Yeah, and that's why like live comedy is so great. Like you're hearing the audience is cueing you in on that he said something funny. You know what I mean? Like you're hearing the response. And as a kid, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I pretended to know what someone was talking about just because everyone was laughing. And I would like look at my friends laughing. And I'm like, I bet you don't get that, when I didn't know what the hell these people were talking about. But the audience suggested that I should laugh. And therefore I know this person is funny.
Yeah.
On a serious note, I got to ask you about crisscross applesauce.
Okay. Well, when did crisscross applesauce come up?
Well, you said it in your book and you defended it. And all I'm hearing is I can no longer say that I'm sitting Indian style.
Yeah, which by the way, you can. That's totally fine. But you know, because I have an Indian friend, and by that I mean from the country of India, like over there, and he claimed. Now he is a comedian and also an asshole, but he claimed that when someone says sitting Indian style, it's actually referring to them because it's a yoga position. And if that's the case, then like of course it's fine to say. But in the book, I wanted to make the joke because like there is a lot of people that's like, yo, don't say, you know, sitting Indian style or whatever. But like when I went to like edit myself and put crisscross applesauce, I did think to myself, I was like, that's honestly more fun. And like the only, you know what I mean? And like the only people we are telling to sit Indian style are children. Why not just say crisscross applesauce? It's a fun thing. It doesn't matter. And now no one's mad. You know what I'm saying? But
most of the teachers I'm around tell the kids in the elementary, that's what they say.
Crisscross
I thought I was gonna have to get with the Native American Council and get them to put that as a rider on the Washington Redskins protest.
We're gonna say it's a commander sit.
I'm sure that but that was my point, is like, I'm certain that no one actually gives a shit, but it's such an easy solution to just say crisscross applesauce and like tell me that that's not more childlike and full of joy than just sit Indian style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you find now when you're writing comedy, performing comedy, that you have to be conscious of those kind of things because I mean, honestly, you say one wrong thing and then you're on the cancel list.
No, I don't give a shit. Mainly because like my thing has always been, if I would never write something that I intentionally knew like, oh, this will piss a bunch of people off, because like, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make people laugh. I would never go up there and go, I'm saying this, I know it's wrong. I have to believe in something before I will say it. Do you know what I mean? And, but at the same time, there will be like areas where like, I don't know what is right or wrong. And I'll just say things. And then, you know, maybe people will tell me I was wrong, but that's usually the end of it. Like, it's like, I don't worry about that shit, but like, maybe, I guess some people do, but it's because they want to just say all these horrible things that it would never cross my mind to say. I'm not saying that I've never gone over the line. I totally have. And when I was younger, like you wanted to be edgy because like you were going up there. There was a time in comedy when like we were going up there, like we just want a response. We don't care if it's laughter or not. And then after a while you grow up, you mature as a human being and you go, no, I should want to laugh. You know what I mean? But I love taking things that we're not supposed to talk about and finding the humor in them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I need permission to say the N-word or something like that. Like, that's
right.
crazy. That's crazy. You know what I mean? But like
sometimes people get so bent out of shape about the least little things, and
they always have. But they always have. Dude, when I was doing stand-up, I was 19 years old, and a dude, like, I've had a gun pointed at my head. I've had a dude throw me up against the wall and choke me out. All of these, by the way, were before Twitter even existed, right? So, like, I don't think anyone's getting more bent out of shape than ever. I think that everybody just has a platform to complain. But, like, here's the thing. If someone gets bent out of shape about something, who gives a shit?
Right.
Are they going to fire me? I'm an independent contractor. oh, you didn't like it? Cool, move on with your day. It's okay. Like Neil Brennan had said something like, he's got the 3 days rule. He's like, if I say something and there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. He goes, I wait 3 days. I wait 3 days. If everyone's still talking about it after 3 days, maybe I said something wrong. He said, but 99.9% of the time, it's already over. And the only way to make it worse is if you interact with that person, because then everyone's going to see you interacting. So like, I just ignore it. But like when it comes to canceling or whatever, I would like everyone for homework, make a list of all the people that you think have been canceled, right? Now, I would like you to take a look at how their ticket sales are going. Most every single case, they're actually doing better now than before they got quote unquote canceled. I would put it to you that a lot of comedians are using I don't want to get canceled as a pride so that people will pay attention to that, get pissed. It'll get their engagement up because, right, nobody gives a shit. Like, who cares, man? Like, it just, to me, it just doesn't exist. Like, everybody goes, oh, I thought they'd already canceled Joe Rogan. Oh, really? The guy that just signed a 500 million Spotify deal? Shut the fuck up. They canceled Dave Chappelle because he's talking about the time that they canceled him 3 specials ago on his new fucking Netflix special. Shut the fuck up. It is all a gimmick. It's
he circled back and made it funnier.
But then what is canceling if it happens to you and you're more successful than ever and have a different, but what you mean is what people want is they want to live a life without any type of consequence whatsoever. They don't want any type of negative feedback. Now, listen, I totally understand. I hate it when I get criticized. We all do. But when you put yourself out there, that's the world. But all I'm saying is Louis C.K. gets canceled. He still sells out Madison Square Garden. All right. None of it's fucking real. None of it is real at all. So yes, I would love if I got quote unquote canceled to the level that some of these now mega millionaires have been canceled. Please, for the love of God, dig up any of my fucking shit. I beg you. I will take you for a ride on my new boat. I'll fucking name it after you. And if you're out there and you're like, I don't want to get canceled, you're not brave. Say whatever the fuck you want. And if you can't take the criticism, you don't deserve to be in this goddamn business. How about that?
Well, there you go.
Corey's message to the Twitter people out there is fire me. I'm already fired.
That's it. Like, who gives a fuck? I work for myself.
But you know, if comedy doesn't work out for you, he could become a television evangelist.
Hey man, I've been having fun with the Pastor Petey character online.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. And
you ought to get a spot on freaking Righteous Gemstones. We need to make that happen.
I've auditioned 3 times and it never worked out. Now every single time I ended up seeing the scene that I was supposed to be in, and I go, oh yeah, they made a great choice picking that person. You know, and I was like, I would have sucked at that, or like I wouldn't have been near as good. You know what I mean? But I did start doing that on my Substack, which you can go to at bonuscorey.com. That's where I do a lot of bonus things. It's $5, ain't that much. It's a month, you know, whatever. But I started doing Pastor Petey doing these sermons, and I was just channeling like the evangelist type shit that I heard when I was a kid. And I started and I was like, oh shit, I'm real good at this. That's scary. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do believe that any comedian worth their salt, if they committed to the Lord, they would be making 10 times much.
There you go.
Oh, thank you, Tep.
But
there it is, bonuscorey.com.
Speaking of acting and trying out for stuff, as I was doing my research, did I hear? I was trying to confirm whether or not you were on an episode of Walking Dead, but sometimes I can't tell if it's you or Trey talking. Sometimes,
unless no, I was in Zombieland 2, so I have been in a zombie affiliated thing.
Maybe that's what I heard.
But no, I was that. Yeah, I was like, dude, you have to. Not only do you have to squint to see me, it's like a point. The only reason I was in it is because I'm friends with the director Ruben Fleischer. He and I had just worked on a pilot together, and he just happened to be shooting Zombieland 2. They did it in Atlanta, and he knew I was near, and he's like, hey, dude, he's like, you want to come up and like be a zombie or some shit? And I was like, buddy, do I? And so I went. He ended up not making me a zombie. I actually, if you've seen Zombieland 2, I was one of the hippies on the commune that the zombies kind of take over. I get kicked off of a cliff, but I got to I brought my dad. It was so much fun. We got to hang out with Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin, the whole lot. And he, walked us through, and it was super cool. Let me tell you something about Woody Harrelson. First off, everything you ever heard about him being the coolest motherfucker on earth, I'm here to confirm. Now, granted, I only met him one day, but it was like, yep, this is as advertised. So we're sitting there. I've got this scene, and we're all practicing it. And they're like, all right, Woody, Woody will be here. And they've got this stand in. I was like, where's Woody? And they were like, oh, well, he's not coming until the very second that we, say action. So we're sitting there, we're practicing. All of a sudden, helicopter above us lands. Woody Harrelson gets out, dressed as Tallahassee, walks up while we're sitting there playing around, is high. Absolutely. There's some crew members. There's some crew members playing cornhole off to the side. Woody walks up, hits 3 bags in a row, right, on cornhole, walks over, they yell action, he nails the scene, and then he walks directly off back to the trailer that they had set up, sitting there reading his lines for the next scene. It was like the coolest shit. And I got to hang out with him. He met my dad, and he was a super nice guy, but like that dude he knew his shit. He got in, nailed it. Perfect cornhole player. Of course he is. And there you go.
Man, I guess that y'all mentioned that Atlanta was little Hollywood, and y'all talked about it. And that's why I got confused.
That's
what about King Raccoon 2?
Oh,
Dark
Killer
Christmas.
Raccoons 2.
Yeah, Killer Raccoons 2.
Dark Christmas in the Dark.
We all know that. We all know that movie.
Hey, it actually was during the pandemic. It was the #1 comedy on Amazon for a brief moment because nobody was making shit, right?
Everyone already finished Tiger King, so they needed something else to watch during the pandemic.
That's my buddy Travis Irvine who directed that. Travis, a very funny comedian, also ran for mayor of Cleveland or Cincinnati. I can't remember which one it was. I did some campaign work for him. He didn't win. But Travis is just a buddy of ours, and he does these independent films. And he messaged me, Trey, and Drew while we were on the road. He's like, do y'all have a microphone with you? We're like, yeah, we got the podcast shit. He goes, I want y'all to be in my movie. And we were like, okay. So what we were these train conductors in a scene, and we had this like conversation. We didn't read any of the script. We didn't even know what the fucking title was, nothing like that. So we do this scene. I edited it, uploaded it to him. And then the next thing I know, there's a movie coming out called Killer Raccoons 2, Dark Christmas in the Dark. I see Travis post about it. I was like, oh man, this is great. I can't wait to watch. He's like, yeah, I mean, you're in it. I was like, what the fuck? So that's how that worked. There's been a couple things that I've been in that I didn't know I was in until they came out, because I just got like a specific, hey, read this. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then there you go.
Well, I've been friends with you for a few years now, and I'm looking at some of these titles, and I'm like, he didn't even mention it. Like War of the Worlds.
Yeah, that was a pandemic thing too. That was me, Mark Ruffalo, Deborah Messing. Man, there was a lot of stars in it. Like there was a ton of stars, but the thing is, like, we were never on set together. It was all shot remotely. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But yes, technically me and Mark Ruffalo have been in a movie together, and we have equal billing, me and the Hulk.
It blew me away when I was, like I said, just doing some research for just some things that I thought I knew. I found out a bunch of stuff I didn't know.
Me and Mark Ruffalo actually got paid the exact same for that movie too. Did you know that?
Just tell everybody you got Hulk money.
$0. We both did it pro bono.
One thing, a project you did, and I was really excited, and we watched it, and I was hoping to see more of it, was All Night Barbecue Fat for the Cooking Channel.
Yeah, man, that was such a product of the worst timing in the whole world. We shot that pilot. I felt so good about it. Immediately, the pandemic happened. Like, immediately, the pandemic happened. Like, man, don't get me wrong. The pandemic was horrible for the world, not just me. And I will say that I ended up making the most out of it for sure. But like, there was this, I thought it was all fucking over, dude. Like, literally, I thought it was all over because like we had our pilot going around that time. I had just, the Game Show Network hired me to write a game show, which I did. They paid me handsomely to do it, but also I was supposed to be the co-host of this thing, and they had Blake Shelton picked to be the host, and we went and did the run through. It went great. On the like, literally, I leave Game Show Network headquarters to get on a plane, and my manager calls me and goes, "Hey, have you heard Tom Hanks has some sort of virus?" And this was funny. My manager goes, so be careful, because my boyfriend is Tom Hanks' assistant. So if he gave it to me, at one point I thought I had not only the coronavirus, but the one directly from Tom Hanks. But as soon as that happened, the Game Show Network deal, we're looking at 2 years later, none of these projects are going. Then we just filmed the barbecue thing. So I'm like, in my brain, I've got 2 shows locked and loaded, ready to go. And our ABC pilot is maybe about to film. And then boom, pandemic happens. Holy shit, my life's over. Little did I know, I end up coming out the other side better than ever, because realistically, who knows if those shows would have fucking worked.
I thought it was great. And I still remember one of the coolest parts of it is that Corey calls everybody over to get some ingredients. And he's like a late model Chevy, and he drops the tailgate on it, and the ingredients are in the ass into this truck. Yeah. I was like, not even a new Chevy, late model Chevy.
That's what I was going to ask, what the concept of this all night barbecue was, Corey.
So basically it was sort of like what's the show where they're all in the one room together and they're throwing different ingredients at them and all these challenges. Yeah. Iron Chef or one of those. So it was like, it was kind of like that, but like it's going to be a low and slow 24-hour like barbecue cook-off type thing, right? So, and it was all true. Like they didn't fake none of that stuff. Like they were legit out there. These people stayed up for 24 hours, like working in shifts. And the genesis or the premise of it is like randomly, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, I show up, wake them up out of their truck, and they've got to do all these wild, fucking crazy things. And it was a lot of fun. We had a blast doing it. I got to eat barbecue and get paid for it. I still have some friends that I met on set that we still get up with. But yeah, we shoot the pilot and everyone felt really good about it. And it was like, we might go to series with this. And we can't shoot anything else because no one can travel. So
was there a time on the show when you tasted it and it tasted like straight doo-doo, but you had to be nice?
No, there was one instance where the dude did overcook his meat a little bit, but he knew that he did it. Like everyone knew that they did it, and flavor wise, it was like still fine. But no, dude, these people, like, they weren't jabronis, man. Like these were people who were like, they're winning barbecue competitions all around the country. That's why they got there. But the dude, I knew immediately, the guy who ended up winning. I knew. The first time I met him, I was like, that guy's going to win 100%. And I was just based on looks. Like, as someone from the South who looks the way I do, I hate it when people judge a book by their cover, but by God, I looked and I was like, if I had to hire one of these people based off looks to make me barbecue, I'm going with this dude right here. And by God, he won the whole thing. Great dude. I still make my macaroni and cheese the way that he taught me to make it. Okay. Super fun. Oh, and also what really sealed it for him was that he slow cooked these ribs, right? But on the last hour, right before, like in the very last process of the ribs, he would get a Ziploc bag and fill it with toffee, like English toffee candy, beat it to a pulp, and then sprinkle it over the top of the ribs. Whoa. So just on the last hour, it caramelized and gave the ribs like a sweet crunch to go along with the juicy and like,
I might have to try that.
As soon as I had that, I was like, y'all can just go ahead and shut the cameras down because like this dude's taking it.
Our buddy Efren is in the chat, and he says that also his meat has been overcooked. Just listening to that.
That motherfucker. Hey, Efren, how are you doing, buddy? The last time I saw Efren, he was accosting me in a bathroom, as he is wont to do, just checking to see if I was under the stall.
He'll stare at you across the piss trough. That's for sure.
He will. But here's the difference between Efren and everyone else who stares at you across the piss trough. You're glad he's there. You know what I mean? He's a sweetheart. You love him. He's wonderful. I can't get enough Efren. I wish he was with me right now. Matter of fact, he just like, there's some dudes who just like their sheer existence makes the world and also whatever room you're in better. And like no one exemplifies that more than Efren. Whenever there's a Top Guy event, as soon as Efren walks in, it's like if we thought we were about to have a bad time, we were sorely mistaken because it is going down right now.
Exactly. And you guys
That's
have
what-
the same haircut, which is nice too.
Yeah,
So-
God gave it to us. That's my barber, the Lord Jesus Christ. He's down. Yeah, I don't have to go to Supercuts.
That's right. You guys have both been blessed.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, one of my favorite parts of your book was when y'all talked about Vermont, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
There was not a part of Vermont.
Efren said, thanks, Corey. Want to fuck?
He's so subtle.
Oh goodness.
Vermont, you said.
Yeah, well, everything you described in Vermont, I pictured Jeff Jewett. I mean, I pictured Jeff Jewett in corduroy. Every part of Vermont was Jeff Jewett.
Chopping wood.
Well,
Yeah.
I have to tell you, and this is true. I wrote that chapter. You know, me and Trey split it up. I wrote that chapter, and everything I wrote, I too pictured Jeff Jewett doing it, which is why it made it a lot of fun to write. I think I may have even shared some of the things in the chat, but yeah, I had a blast. I haven't got. Jewett says he's read the book, but I don't know. But I'm very curious to hear if he thinks that I nailed Vermont, because that's one thing we were worried about in the book is like, okay, we are writing about all these places that we have visited. You know what I mean? We don't live there. And like, there's a lot of people who could visit my hometown and say a whole lot of stuff that I would go, wait a minute, that ain't it. You know, but if you're passing through for a couple days, so far, everybody has reached out to me about their particular city and said, you nailed it. But I haven't heard anything from Vermont. So I am going to need old doo-doo truck to holler back at me on the authenticity of that chapter.
Well, if you're trusting Doo-Doo Truck to read, I don't know how.
No, he said that he didn't read it. He bought the audio version.
Yeah, right.
He spends a lot of time in the truck, though.
That's true.
So Jewett's got a young girlfriend, and
I know he
doesn't have time to read when he's off work.
I don't blame him.
He's living the life.
I got a question for Mr. Forrester. How is it being a dad? How's it going?
I hate to be like stereotypical and cliched, but I can't help it. Like, it's literally the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And I am like, everybody told me that it would be, but when me and my wife decided to have a kid, when we decided to have a kid, it was 6 years ago. That's how long it took us to have this little sumbitch. But I told her, I said, look, I'm not rushing to have kids, but if you want to have kids, I'm in. I said, but also if you tell me I don't ever want to have kids, I'm in. I want to do whatever makes you happy. I'm not against kids, whatever. So when she told me she was pregnant, I was definitely excited, but I was like, well, you know, it'll be cool. I'll have him and I'll make a work-life balance. There'll be a thing, bro. Like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking with this whole, I don't know if I want to have kids shit. Like, I can't imagine my life without him. And now, like, I barely want to do my job. Like, I always thought like comedy is something like I get paid well to do it now, but I would have always done it for free, you know? And like, this is what I do. This is my life. And now, like, I barely even want to do the thing that is my lifeblood because it takes me away from being with him. So like, I'm constant, like, ever since he's born, especially, I've been like, what can I do to be funny on the computer so that I don't have to leave the fucking house? But no, man, it's great. Like, you know, he's the ultimate motivator too. Like, I've worked harder since he's got here because I've like, oh God, you can't screw up now. Like, I've lived my whole life and it was totally fine if I screwed up, but now I can't screw up. But it's great, man. He's really helped me a lot. He's the light of my life. And I think being a dad is like the thing that I was like put on this earth to do.
Well, maybe you can do that ventriloquist dummy gimmick and put him on your lap and just take him around with you up on stage.
I can kind of talk.
Like
I can
that
kind of
Jeff
talk
Bezos.
without moving my mouth. You know what I mean? Not that good. It's not perfect, but I can like I'm getting there. You know what I
I
mean?
like that video you did with him when you gave him fancy voice where he was calling you Papa. And
Oh yes, that's his little Oliver Twist voice. Papa, please, can I have some porridge? Oh my God, I don't know if I can make it another second without it.
and you named him after your grandmother.
That's right. Yeah, Bane. This is my Granny Bane. his full name is Jansen Bain, but he goes by Bain, and Jansen is actually my wife's grandfather on her mom's side. So we got both the maternal grandparent name going on. And I know that like we're going to call him Bain, but he's Jansen Bain. So invariably around here, someone will call him JB, and that's totally cool. He'll answer to anything as long as you got milk.
Yeah. And in Georgia, they'll definitely tag him with JB.
It's going to be JB for sure.
But I thought now I did take exception that you did wrestle him on social media and you didn't put him over.
That's right. One time, and I've actually been, it's funny that you say that. I'm glad you said it because it reminds me, I was thinking about, because I haven't done the Buttercream Dream in quite some time, which is odd. Because it's, I'd say, the thing that people like most about me. So naturally, I'm like, nope, y'all can't have that anymore. But I thought it would be fun if I did like sort of a program with him where like I was teaching him to wrestle and putting him on camera, and then maybe like he starts getting more over than me. Cause like, of course he would, he's a baby, right? A baby. And then the Buttercream Dream turns heel and like sweet chin music's my own kid into a wall or something. But I haven't figured out the special effects I would need in order to not actually kick my child in the face.
Oh my God. You know who the most over tag team ever would be Annie and Bane. Annie.
That's 100% true. They would be, so just get me out of there. Just Annie and Bane. Thank you for babysitting a dog and having a child. We're done with you, fucker. Get on out.
So you've been a part of the Well-Read Comedy Tour for a long time.
8 years now, I think.
Would you say that during the pandemic, the Buttercream Dream might have caught fire for you to be a solo?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. 100%. I mean, the Buttercream Dream really helped things take off. And like, not just that, but like the Buttercream Dream was the first thing I ever, like, that's the first type of video I ever put out. I was like, I won't say that I wasn't morally against it or anything, but like, I wasn't a person who put out internet videos. That was Trey's thing. Like, he did it. I was glad that he did it. But I didn't have any good ideas. And I was just like, I'm a fucking stand-up comedian. I'm like an old head. Like, I do jokes on stage. That is it. And then the Buttercream Dream was this fun, silly little thing that I did, and it worked. And it got me comfortable, like, making different types of videos, which then was the launch pad for like, oh, I've got some stuff to say that's not necessarily on stage. And then people started listening to me. But I would say doing that character and it getting over gave me the confidence to be like, oh, people dig what you do. They're not just, it's like, I always be like, oh, well, they'll come see the Well-Read. They like me on the Well-Read tour. They come for the show and they like me. It's like, no, they also like it when it's just you doing things. So like, it wasn't just the thing that was the most popular. It sort of gave me the confidence to be like, hey, I got my own shit going on. I want to do my own stuff. And there you go.
I think it doesn't do anything but help. And I've noticed that there's comedians that I wouldn't have heard of otherwise that post a lot of content on a daily basis.
For sure, man.
But it doesn't. But I don't feel like when you do that you're giving away everything. But I mean, like, just because they see you do the Buttercream Dream or Aunt Hilda or Pastor Petey, when they come to see your show, they're going to get so much more. I mean,
that's true. And I'll be honest with you. A part of me, like, when Well-Read started going, when I knew that we were about to go back on the road, like after the pandemic, like I purposefully stopped doing the Buttercream Dream as much because I was like really worried that like people would come out and expect not me, but the Buttercream Dream to like go on stage and like, cut promos, which like, dude, I could not do that for 30 minutes to an hour. There is no way in hell. Like I couldn't do it. And then I found out quickly that was definitely the case for some people, but then they would get there and be like, oh, but also I enjoyed your stand-up. Cause like, that's the weird thing about the internet is like, if someone discovers you from that thing and then they see that you're going to be at a comedy club, a lot of times they don't immediately go, oh, he's a stand-up comedian that also happened to do this thing. I think their brain goes, oh, he does this internet stuff and now he's doing shows. You know what I mean? When it's like the complete opposite for me. But yeah, no, I mean, is what it is. I like doing a million different things. That's like my curse and my blessing. I don't like doing the same thing all the time.
Nothing wrong with keeping it fresh.
That's right.
And I saw Howie Mandel once, and at the time he was doing the glove
with the
and in that particular night he had a sinus infection and apologized he couldn't do the glove. But
yeah,
so
right.
I mean,
And
the Buttercream Dream, the equivalent of Howie Mandel. I mean, it's just one of the things that he does. So
right, yeah, that's so funny that like I'm sorry that I can't put a rubber glove over my head and blow it up, guys. You'll have to just settle for the jokes that I wrote.
Yeah.
So that's and you know,
mean,
other than Bobby, that's about all I can remember about that concert.
But
he apologized for not doing it.
In Howie's fans' defense, that's like going to see Gallagher and there's no watermelon. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
I guess it's just like how many times can you see a dude blow up a balloon over his head and be like, "Oh, thank God, I didn't miss that."
That was hilarious shit, man.
Yeah, it was
Do
hilarious.
It again.
I'm pretty sure he had to, like, under doctor's orders, he had to retire it permanently because he got like some sort of deviated septum or some shit doing it.
Oh, and he's a germaphobe anyways. He probably got scared he would get something off of the glove.
You know what's weird is like that's a new thing with him. Like I don't think that's been the whole time because I've seen some old interviews where he's shaking hands with the host and people, and I think that was like a late onset phobia, which is kind of wild and sad and don't hit. I'm super glad I ain't got that one. I'm the opposite of a germaphobe. I will lick pudding off the ground. I don't give a shit.
Efren has another question in the chat. With the balloon on the head, he wants to know which head are we discussing there with that?
Well, if I could blow a balloon with that head, I wouldn't be talking right now. I'd be doing something way more entertaining in Vegas, hanging out with Alexis Texas or something.
He'd be hanging out at the carnival with the one-eyed woman, and
that's right,
the guy that can blow up a balloon with his pee-pee.
Yeah, right.
See him around the corner for $2.
And I would never have to apologize to an audience. I'd do it every goddamn time. Throw your quarters in the hat. I'm gonna blow this up with my dick. All right, see y'all. Tell the bearded lady I said hello.
Well, since you mentioned pudding, let's talk about pudding yonder.
Okay.
That got all over me because especially the part about the Yorkshire pudding.
Yeah.
Because I used to frequent Lowry's the Prime Rib regularly.
Absolutely.
And in the late 80s, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. We'd go all the time. And I remember they came up and they do the whole thing and, well, are you going to have the Yorkshire pudding? And they made a big, I didn't know what Yorkshire pudding was the first time they did it. And then they put this slice of really thin bread on the plate. That's the only thing it's good for is dipping in the au jus.
That's right.
But it was kind of, it was more pompous than me smelling the cork and checking the legs on the overpriced bottle of champagne we'd get every time.
That's right. Yeah,
so,
man, they call everything pudding over there, and I got to give Trey credit. That was his. That was as far as pen to paper. That was his chapter of the book. Now we all while me and him were over there, we were taking notes on the pudding, throwing things back and forth, and it's funny because that's an absurdly long part of the book. This whole diatribe on pudding. And Trey's like writing, and he would almost be done, and he would send me his pages, and he would be like, I'll be honest with you. I think I've got 5 more pages on pudding. I was like, then fucking do it. Then do it. You know, here's my thoughts. Absolutely do it. And we got time, like the book, we had to edit it down a lot because they only wanted like 256 pages or whatever. And as always, we over delivered. You know, we're very verbose people, and we're getting there and we're having to cut all this shit and stuff that we're really proud of. But we're like, okay, we can lose this and it doesn't make the book not make sense, right? So I cut a couple full chapters, and I was like, you know, once I got through the dispute of like, hey, do I still own these though? Like, can I do anything I want with them? They're like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, fine, fuck them, you know, cut them. But they were like, you know, we could add a lot of those back in if y'all will trim a little bit of this pudding talk. And so me and Trey were like, all right, we'll go take a look at it and we'll see all the stuff that we're fine losing from the pudding conversation. And we both came back with like, nope, every single goddamn word is so important in this pudding conversation. And therefore, I think it's probably the longest and maybe funniest part of the book.
He's the Pied Piper of pudding.
That's right, man. He just could not shut the fuck up about pudding. And I was like, and because we, you know, that's what we do is like, he'll write something, I'll write something, he'll write something, and then we'll both do a pass over it to like edit it. Like I'll go, well, that one kind of didn't. And we neither one of us, we're just like, I don't know what there's nothing I would take from this. It is absolute distilled beauty, and every word more important than the last.
Well, hearing about y'all's journey across Europe, it was fun. And every story that y'all would tell about being in a pub, I was just picturing the pub in Ted Lasso. So
they're not that far off, man. Like, it's pretty, again, with pubs and stuff, it's like kind of as advertised. Like, I'd say the Ted Lasso type pub, that's actually, I would consider that a nice pub. You know what I mean? Because and I don't mean that the other ones were shitty. I just mean, like, you know, the Garrick Inn in Stratford upon Avon, where I had a conversation with these gentlemen about the Queen, that bar is literally, it was an old bar when Shakespeare went there. It was 200 years old when Shakespeare used to drink there. Like, we don't have that context in America. There's nothing that old. We can't. Nothing can be that old, right? But they're all super quaint, and I love that. Like, they have their, like, I think it's called Weatherspoons, is kind of like their Cheney, like, you know, Dave and Buster's. Well, not Dave and Buster's, they don't, because it doesn't have games, but like their Buffalo Wild Wings type situation. They've got those, but like they also still very much have a pub culture that is like untarnished. Like, this building looks exactly like it looked whenever it was built, and we're not redecorating it because that's bullshit. And, you know, we'll get a new stool when that one breaks, and probably not. We'll probably just redo it because it smells like gin and, you know, Ian's farts. And that's how we like it here at the fucking pub.
It sounded like y'all had a hell of a time, and especially around, you know, the soccer talk. I liked how y'all were trying to get in on being part of the soccer experience.
It was amazing. And I'll tell you, like, I was convinced that when we got back home, I would still be like super into soccer because that's how awesome it was being over there. But it definitely faded. But like, it's something that if I lived over there, I don't see how you couldn't be enveloped in it, because it's like, guys, if y'all think that the NFL is over in America, and it is, it is nothing. And I mean, dude, European football fandom literally makes the NFL look like the fucking WNBA. And I say that with respect. It's crazy. These people are emotional every single day on games that don't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Like, we saw dudes, like when we were in Inverness, there was a play-in game or something, and these boys literally destroyed the bar. Like, they were throwing chairs into the ceiling. Things were breaking and falling down, and the bartender wasn't even batting an eye. Like, she was just like, oh, the lads are having fun. Just let them do it, you know. They want to clean it tomorrow. They'll probably come back. You know, like, they didn't give a fuck. It was so normal. Whereas, like, all of that behavior at the seediest bar in America would have been dealt with. Like, get the fuck out. Somebody would have fired a gun in the air and been like, we can't do this shit. What are you, savages? But over there, it was just Tuesday.
Crazy. I can get that, though. If you lived there, you'd be immersed in it. I didn't care for college. I mean, I wasn't a college football fan until I moved to Mississippi.
There you go.
Because in Dallas, it's not a college football town.
Of course.
I mean, except for 5 minutes in the 80s when SMU had their run. I had the Cowboys, the Mavericks, the Stars, the Rangers.
That's a pretty good, like, illustration there. Is like, yeah, I wouldn't have been, you know, and people from the South don't understand why everyone's not into college football, but you get outside to these other places, you're like, it's just not a fucking big deal here. Like, my in-laws are from Iowa. How are they supposed to get their dicks hard for college football when they're in Iowa? Like, they're surrounded by nothingness and fucking 7-3 ball games, for the love of God. But like, yeah, but over there, it's just the Southeastern Conference all day, every day, brother. It is insane.
Did you have any mushy peas while you were over there?
I did, and here's the deal. I'm a fan of mushy peas, but
Okay.
put fucking, hold on, when I do it, but put salt and pepper. Did we take that from y'all in 1776 too? Like, what the fuck is going on? Matter of fact, I thought that the British took everyone's spices away from them.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was like the whole point of the colonization was like the Indian trade, taking everyone's spices, you know,
Yeah.
but you just got them all. You don't put them on anything. You just have them. We just want the spice. We just want to have it in our cupboard. But so like the idea of mashing a bunch of peas together is fine by me, but like, put a little garlic in there, some salt, pepper, nothing. It's just completely bland
Zhuzh it up a little
bullshit.
bit.
Zhuzh it up.
Bacon grease.
Yeah, something.
I've never had the mushy peas, but I mean, hell, I've had some mushy peas here. I mean, just my peas got mushy. They seem
Right.
okay, but you know.
Have I had the full English breakfast? Yes, I have. I had it
Oh.
every goddamn day while I was there, and I was a huge fan, a real big fan. I like so it's basically like, you know, it's eggs and bacon and all that stuff, but they also have
Baked
the
beans,
baked, yeah, the baked beans. Like the first time I was like, oh, this is nice, because I put it on toast and it was like, okay. But after that, I was like, I don't want to have beans this early in the morning. I do. The blood sausage is hit or miss. Several places overcooked it too much, which or it's blood pudding, which is actually like black type of blood sausage or whatever.
Yeah.
If it's cooked well, it's good, but if it's overdone even a little bit, it is garbage. But what I did love was starting that it always comes with tomatoes and sort of sauteed mushrooms. That's nice. That's a nice little touch, but it's never going to take the place of, like, I would have loved to have had those sauteed mushrooms and tomatoes mixed in with my hash browns. Right. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I was a fan.
I was going to ask you about the blood sausage, because I've never had that, I don't think, and especially their kind, which is, like you said, is kind of like black almost.
Yeah, it's like I had it, like, of the 30 days we were there, maybe 4 or 5 times I was like, okay, they've done it right and this is good. But other than that, it was kind of just like a brick. Now, again, anyone listening to this from over there, I'm certain that those people fucked it up. Those particular, because this is a lot of hotels too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect a Holiday Inn in North Georgia to give someone the best biscuits and gravy they've ever had. You couldn't judge the southern region based on the Comfort Inn's fucking bacon. You know what I mean?
Well, and then a fun fact about Corey that a lot of y'all don't know is that Corey is an incredible cook, like chef quality. I mean,
that's not true.
I mean, some of the stuff he'll make it like with truffles, and I mean, he'll fancify a chicken pot pie on you. So
that is true. That is true. I will. And a lot of that. Here's the deal. All that comes from just, I was alone for so long because no woman would have me. You know what I mean?
A chubby boy alone by himself.
I had to learn.
That's the next book. Next book.
And I'm so glad that my mom did this, but like, and my granny too, like, my granny was like my best friend. So like, she, as a lot of Southern women did, she just like stayed in the kitchen. And so if I wanted to talk to her, that's where I had to go. So I'd kind of pick up this or that. And then my mom was a very good cook too. But more than that, I just always wanted to eat when I was a kid. And my mom would eventually get tired. And one day she was like, look, if you want it, go make it. And she would just like have supreme confidence in me as a child going in there. And I learned how to, like, mom would make me the square meals a day and a snack. You know what I mean? She would do the motherly things. She goes, but if you're going to want to eat as much as you want to eat, you're going to have to do it. And I was like, as long as you'll let me, I'll do it. And that's when I started learning how to make my own soups and just all sorts of shit. And so then years of being a completely undesirable male led me to cooking for myself a lot. And I got good at it.
Your mom pretty much punched your ticket to obesity. She's like, you can eat all you want, but you got to make it.
As long as you make it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Buttercream Dream, Corey.
Okay. The Buttercream.
Go ahead. You give me credit, and you give me way too much credit, because all I did is have a wrestling belt that was going to be replaced because I complained about it. So the belt maker was going to replace it for me. And Corey didn't have a wrestling belt.
That's right.
And we're in a group chat that centers around wrestling belts. So I just wanted to pay it forward. So I sent Corey the WWF European Championship.
That's right. And
that's my contribution to the Buttercream Dream.
Yes. And I know that in your brain, you weren't thinking, I'm going to send this to Corey and he will make a video with it and it will help his career. I know that you weren't thinking that. However, it did, like, I had always kind of like, I feel like the Buttercream Dream was like almost always coming in my subconscious. I just didn't know it. Like, I'd always wanted to, I love wrestling so much. There was a part of me as a kid that wanted to be a wrestler. And then one day, all it was I just got that belt out of the damn box and it was sitting there on the laundry machine. And I was like going outside to make like I was like, something had happened in the world. I can't even remember what it was. And I was just like, you know, pandemic's going on. And I was like, people need to hear my opinions and I don't have a stage. And as I'm walking out the door, for some reason, I just grabbed the belt and threw it over my shoulder. And of course, that video got a lot of views, but it's because people were going, "Wait, why's the belt there?" Because I didn't address it. I wasn't even in full, but like the character hadn't even come together then. And like all the first videos, like they were all very, very overwritten. I talked too fast. Like the character really, it took like I would say like 8 to 9 months before it got good to me. But yeah, that was just the most random thing that has ever, the belt just happened to be there. And then it all just kind of clicked. I was like, oh wait, I can be a wrestler. I'm just a, you know, comedian one. You know what I mean?
I love Miss Jones's face in this picture that we're looking at right here.
Oh yeah. She had no idea what the fuck was going on. She had no idea. What's funny is that Leslie messaged me and she like not long before the MTV Movie Awards, and she said, "Hey, I want you to be on the MTV Movie Awards with me." And I was like, "Great." And she goes, "I don't know what you do though." And I was like, "Okay, okay." Now, mind you, at this point, I had no idea that she was hosting. It had not been announced that she was hosting. I just assumed they were letting her have a sketch and she was being nice enough to include me in it. So I go, "Can I have a crack at it?" And she goes, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So I go and I write what I think would be a good Buttercream Dream promo for the MTV Movie Awards. I included a bunch of Marvel references and all this stuff. I did the video. I sent it to her and her team and they go, "Great." And I was like, "Word?" And they were like, "Yep, just do that." And I was like, okay. And again, I'm like, well, this is going to get up to MTV and they're going to be like, "No, sorry, Leslie, this isn't happening." Then it got announced that she was hosting. And I was like, oh shit, I'm really doing this thing. Cause like she's hosting, like she's greenlighting it. Right. So I sent it to, now I have to send it to MTV Legal. And for the first time in my life that I was ever doing something for like an actual big network, I got 0 notes and they said, "Just do it exactly like that." And I was like, what the fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
So I do. And then funny story about why that belt, which is a WWE property, is on television without question, is because I was there. I had the belt. I'm walking in to do the dress rehearsal and someone goes, "Hey, come here." And I was like, "What?" And they go, we're going to need to go take that belt to legal and get it passed through, blah, blah, blah." And I go, "Why?" And they go, "Well, that's what we have to do." And I go, "But I'm the champ." And I was fucking kidding. I was just bullshitting. I go, "But I'm the champ." I was in full Buttercream Dream. I go, "But I'm the champ." And they go, "Oh, well, never mind then." And I just went on national television with it. Like they could have totally got sued and they just went with the word of, "This guy says he's the champ." So there you go. Because nobody there knew who the fuck I was. Leslie Jones is the only person there who had any clue who I was. So in a lot of these people's minds, I legitimately just was a wrestler and was the champion.
I mean,
which was neat.
If that doesn't look like Hulk Hogan to me, I don't know what does.
That is early onset Arn Anderson right there.
Well, I'm happy. I was so happy when we watched it. It's the first time I'd watched the MTV Movie Awards in years, but because I mean, I remember when MTV still played music. So
yeah, I got to keep those shoes too. That was nice of them.
But you've developed a relationship with Leslie Jones, and you get to open for her now.
Yeah, man, Leslie's cool. Whenever she's in the South, she always takes me on the road. I get to go do you know, I don't have to do a lot of time. I get a nice paycheck and then I get to go home. It's really sweet. I'm really thankful to Leslie for that. She's helped me out a lot. She's got a new book out right now, by the way. So I'll put her over too, because she's meant a lot to me and my family, and she's a very sweet lady and a very funny one too.
She's incredibly funny. She was one of my favorite parts of Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah, dude. She never didn't crush.
Yeah,
she did an interview with Howard Stern a couple years ago that was really good too. I always, like you, Dave, she's always fantastic on SNL. That's where I first was introduced to her. So that's awesome though that she's helped. You guys are she's working together there on the road.
Yeah, man. If she, like I said, if she's in the South, she's just like, well, you're right down the road, and so fucking there you go. Definitely gets me in front of a new audience. And well, I will say though, it was really nice. The couple times I was opening up for her when I came out, I heard some Buttercream Dream chants. So I was like, oh, okay, right on. Here we go. I'm sure some people were disappointed, but
Another one of my favorite characters is your aunt that smokes.
Aunt Lita,
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah, I need to bring her back too. Everybody enjoys her. That the origin of that was I was watching a documentary on Greek gods and myths, and Zeus. It was either Zeus or Hercules. Used to turn himself into a bird and then go down and try to impregnate women as a bird or something like that. And one of the ladies that he did this to was this lady named Lita. It was like Leta or something like that. And so the first video I ever did, god dang, I got to find it. It was like, I showed the front of this documentary, and it was like, and Zeus, disguised as whatever, went down and impregnated Lita. And then it cuts to me as Lita, and I go, I thought I was fucking a bird. And that was, and that was it. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, I never thought it would be a character. I was just like, I just had a pink wig, and I was like, you're Lita. I thought I fucked a bird.
What's so great about that joke is it's not that she's not embarrassed about fucking a bird. I mean,
she was mad that she was deceived.
Mad that she was, yeah.
Yeah. I thought I was fucking a bird. I would have not fucked this man. I was, yeah. And then I just had the wig laying around. And here's a funny story about that wig. Thank you, Darren. Yes, it was Zeus. Here's a funny story about that wig. It's unfortunate, actually. So that was that pink wig. That was the wig my wife used to wear when she was getting a little dirty. You know what I mean? So, but I ruined forever our fuck wig because now she can't wear it because it reminds me of me wearing the wig. So that kind of don't hit.
Oh.
Well, Corey,
Pond Water,
I can't thank you enough for your time tonight.
I appreciate y'all having me, man. I was in such better shape right there.
Oh, look at that young looking man.
Yeah. You want to know the stupid reason why my mustache is blonde? I auditioned to play Hulk Hogan on Young Rock right before that. and I thought the audition went really well. And then we got to Top Guy Weekend, and I see Bischoff, who I'd met before, and he was like, why are you bleach blonde? I go, I just auditioned to play Hulk Hogan on Young Rock. And he doubled over laughing harder than I've ever seen anybody laugh. He goes, you fucking Hulk Hogan? I go, I don't know. Hell, some of them don't look like the person. You know what I mean?
I got the haircut.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, thank y'all for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Anytime. Oh yeah, that's it right there.
Well, we can't thank you enough. This my little show is we're trying to grow it, and don't think that I don't appreciate your time. It was so much fun having you here tonight, getting to talk to you about things I don't normally get to talk to you about. So
appreciate that, brother. Send me some clips and I'll put them out and put you over.
I sure appreciate it.
Thank you, fellers. I love you very much.
Love you too, buddy.
That was fantastic.
I didn't realize we've gone as long as we had.
Yeah.
That was quite a treat to have Corey on tonight.
Well, Corey, I'm sure wants to get back to Bain and get off the line with us slapdicks, but that was definitely fun. I had a blast. Which I
I love that belt was able to. That belt did something. Yeah. Speaking of belts, hey, maybe you need a wrestling belt so you can cut a promo on elected officials and become an overnight internet sensation. Or maybe you just want to walk around the house and feel like a badass. Big Time Belts can do that for you. Are you a wrestling promoter that's currently using a toy belt with stickers on it? Be like Battle Zone Wrestling. Be like SWA. Be like BIW. Be like so many promotions across the United States that are getting high quality belts at low prices and making their champions look like $1 million in the ring with big time belts. Go to facebook.com, search out the group Big Time Belts and join. Reach out and make your dreams come true. If you can dream it, it can be put on metal and leather. Big Time Belts is very affordable, with very high quality, and probably the best customer service in the belt game. Maybe you want to get a belt for your fantasy football league, whoever wins. I know I'd rather have a belt than a trophy. Perhaps you want to get a belt of your favorite sports team. You know, a New York Yankees, or maybe your granddaughter's softball team. So when they hit a home run, you meet them at home plate and they get a belt, or they do something good, a motivational type of belt. You know, this guy got a Vegas Golden Knights, and I'd rather wear a disease, but that's a damn fine belt. And through the end of the month, if you order in the month of October, you can get a 4mm belt for $230. 4mm zinc. That's like a sore Peter. You can't beat it. And then if you wanted to get 24 karat plating on it, you could get that for $300. Or if you wanted to get one made off the CNC with 24 karat, you get it for $380. But $230, promoters, listen, for $230, you will have a championship belt like you see on television. Big Time Belts. And we thank you for sponsoring our podcast.
Man, Teppy got funky with the music there. We switched the music up. I was getting into that.
Well, production note, I don't subscribe to that music service anymore, so I had to change the music so we don't get flagged.
I felt like that could have been the theme song for Saba Simba back in the day, maybe.
Could have been.
That was good. That was a little funky.
Hey, let's talk a little wrestling.
Okay.
The other night on AEW, Adam Copeland, the Rated R superstar, kind of had a verbal joust with Ricky Starks, and he called Ricky Starks a vanilla midget and a rock ripoff. Pretty much, I'm paraphrasing, because Ricky Starks called him bug-eyed, and then he went back at him and said that, you know, you look like you're ripping off the Rock and trying to be like the Rock, but you're a vanilla midget. Now, on one of our earlier episodes, we talked about Ricky Starks, and I said that as much as I love Ricky Starks, I thought my only issue is that with his shirt, the shirts that he wears open, that I don't want you to remind me of the Rock. And he has that Rock look. But then Adam Copeland said it, and now I don't think that was a good thing. And I'm not saying, you read on the internet that they were pissed off about it afterwards. No, they weren't. It was all high fives and everything.
Oh no!
I just question if you want to call attention to that. I mean, that's unfortunate. Now, the vanilla midget didn't bother me as much as pointing out as a Rock ripoff, because now people that didn't see it are going to see it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like when you say that Luke Bryan looks like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead, now you can't unsee it.
But, you know, isn't there an aspect to it, Dave, that you want to build off of real heat, right? So if people are already saying it, wouldn't Edge want to do that to get heat?
But is anybody saying it?
Well, I don't know. You said some people already said it. So
no, I said it a long time ago. Yeah. And that would have been because I'm a huge fan of Ricky Starks. Trust me.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, because he does kind of do the eyebrow thing a little bit too, don't he? Kind of when
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you should do things that remind you of other people. And I thought Kevin Nash did LA Knight a disservice trying to, to say that, hey, he's ripping off Stone Cold and The Rock. So
I think that all these guys need to shut the hell up. Honestly, Kevin Nash should shut the hell up. No one cares. Everyone ripped off of everyone back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it does any good.
Everything's been done before. It's all been done, as the band once said. I forget their name.
Tony
Bare-naked
Storm.
ladies.
Tony Storm right now, she's doing Marlena Dietrich from the Carol Burnett show, and RJ City is Max. And I'm old enough to remember it. There may be a few people in our chat that and thank you for being here in the chat. Boy Jimmy, Darren Staley, Terry Weaver, Allison Faye's with us.
Domino Chris,
thanks for being here, Domino. Willie Buck, what's up, Willie Buck? Efren, we love you. Coach Keith Morrison was here. Andrew Hermes is here. Guys, JD Hoops here. Thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. We always appreciate y'all riding along in the chat. But you know, I can remember that. But I've always said, if you're going to steal something, go steal something old, because that stuff was good.
Yeah.
And Tony Storm, there's not been an incarnation of her that I have found that drew me to want to watch her. Right before she left WWE, she got a clean win over Charlotte. I'm like, all right, I'm okay. You got my attention now. What are we going to do with her? And then she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, that's like, what's his name? The Russian guy that beat Undertaker and never did anything else. Man, I can't remember his name now to save my life. Jesus.
I think that was after I was watching. That was in the 2000s, wasn't it?
And Willie Buck's got a good question, and I'm gonna come back to that in just a second. But also, there's been a lot of outcry. There's been a lot of outcry about last week that WWE threw everything but the kitchen sink at AEW.
Yeah, I actually watched that NXT first one.
Now, I will say that AEW had a fine presentation that night, as did NXT. But here's what I want y'all to think about, because everybody's thinking like WWE played dirty. AEW Dynamite is a Wednesday night television show. WWE NXT is a Tuesday night television show. AEW got moved to Tuesday night. So now they're going head to head. So WWE, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention or not to the news, but SmackDown is not going to be on Fox. Fox doesn't want it back.
Right.
NXT may be changing. NXT may not have that spot on USA. SmackDown's going to be going back to USA. But what I'm telling you is NXT produces a number every week. Now they got to go up against AEW head to head. So all WWE did was throw extra value onto their show, not to crush AEW, but to maintain their number. Because how is it going to look like we did this, this, and this, and oh, look, that week we dropped? No, they protected their ground.
Mm-hmm.
They protected their ground. Now, y'all could say that if they moved NXT to Wednesday night and went head to head and did all that, all's fair in love and war anyway. The only person that lost, it wasn't Rusev, Jimmy. It was long ago than that. But I'm saying it's not even dirty. But if I'm out there and I'm about to get attacked by an elephant, I'm not going to use a 22. I'm going to use a 44. I'm going to use everything in my arsenal to protect what I have. So I don't think that was a bad thing per se. Like, just it cracks me up how everybody got so bent. I mean, it was so vocal that WWE had done something. I just didn't like it. I didn't get it, because the real winner in all of that for Tuesday night last week was the fans. The fans won. Because you could watch one of them live and you could watch one of them recorded, and most people do. I didn't watch either one of them live. So, I mean, you put Braun Breaker out there with the Undertaker, and the Undertaker made him famous. Undertaker made him famous. You put Jade Cargill with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I thought the thing with Braun Breaker, and I saw a lot of people complaining on X that they thought that the whole last match and segment made him look weak. You know what? If he's getting, first of all, he's in the main event. Second of all, he's getting a rub with the Undertaker. That's only going to help you. I don't care if it makes you look weak or not. It's only
Now,
going to
here's
help
what
your
would have made
career.
him look weak. If he was a white meat babyface and they would have sent the Judgment Day out there to
Yeah.
destroy him, that would have made him look weak. But he's a chicken shit heel,
Mhm.
and the Undertaker, the biggest dog in the yard, went out there, and I don't think that he looked any worse for it, personally.
I like his music too. That's the first time I heard it. They started off with the siren, kind of like Scott's WCW music.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Now, Brian Breaker's did not get buried by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I thought it was a good rub for him, honestly. And God, he looks good. I enjoyed his match. Um, I just don't think it's going to be very long before they call him up. I wouldn't think.
And it's just that was just a TV rights deal thing that they were protecting their number, because hey, guess what? WWE doesn't own. I mean, they got a new boss now. NXT has to hold it. It's got to pull its weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just being developmental is not good enough anymore. They answer. I mean, the guy that owns all that now, WWE brings in more dollars, UFC makes more profit. So making more dollars don't impress the powers to be at TKO. They're impressed by profit. So you're good. I mean, that's why you're getting Becky Lynch. That's why you're getting Dominic Mysterio. You're going to see more. I don't believe, and I don't know anything. I don't believe that NXT is going to be developmental per se going forward. I mean, you're going to get more, but you're going to see more main roster. I mean, you got Baron Corbin on there now. You had Dana Brooke. Hell, they'd already done that with Mandy Rose. So, I mean, but the only person that wins in this, the fans win. So, I mean, embrace it.
I thought I didn't see the AEW show, but I did watch all the NXT show. I thought it was a great show. I really did. I didn't thought that was hard to critique and find anything wrong with it. For it being a free show on TV, I thought it was well paced, well structured, and it went well as far as I'm concerned. I forgot we were talking to Efren, or he was in the chat earlier, and I forgot I wore this underneath my shirt at work all day today. My Saved by the Pod. Check that out. Shout out to a great podcast that we miss.
Well, hopefully going we're rapidly coming up on our 1 year anniversary, and hopefully after that we'll introduce some Talking Wrestling with Palm Water Dave merch.
Yes, we need some.
Willie Buck said, Palm Water Dave, what do you think about everybody using the yeet yeet there? If I wasn't friends with Ray Fury, if I didn't know who Ray Fury was, I wouldn't have thought twice about it. When I heard him say yeet, I thought that was unfortunate for Fury, because Ray Fury's made yeet yeet his thing. He comes out, he goes, yeet yeet. Can I get 2 claps and a yeet? And I mean, he gets the crowd behind him, and they do the yeet yeet, and then ain't no way. And it's unfortunate, but things happen. Our guest Matthew Palmer that we had, the Monster Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a unique look. And then Kip Sabian came back and he took the bag off his head and looked a lot like Matthew Palmer on a national platform.
Mm.
Those things are unfortunate. When I started wrestling training, I talked to my trainer and he said, what kind of gimmick you want to get? And I said, well, I wanted to be Super Dave. I kind of want to do a superhero gimmick. And Hurricane Helms was the American Gringo at the time. I mean, he was doing Shane Helms, Gregory Helms. He wasn't doing the Hurricane at the time. So, but then it came back, or Chris Hero decided to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter because I became a referee. What I'm saying is that sometimes things happen on a national level. And even though your indie guy had it, it's just unfortunate for them, because case in point, I'm not calling him by name, but there's a young man that's an incredible heel. I see Gino Hernandez when I see him, and Gino Hernandez used to carry a towel around his neck and tuck it into his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And can y'all hear me?
Yep. I got you.
Okay, my headphones just went out. Anyway, he was doing the whole thing, and the crowd hated him. But he said that he goes, y'all, I'm better than y'all. And I told him, he asked me what I thought, and I told him, I said, drop that, I'm better than y'all, because at that point you don't think Gino Hernandez, you start thinking MJF. MJF's on television.
Yeah. Well, as Dave redirects his thing there, you're on mute, Dave. You got to unmute yourself there. Now you're
Can y'all
good.
hear me?
Yep, we got you. I can hear you. And this is the technical aspect of the Pondwater Dave show that you've all come to know and love over there on our chat. Dave's having some headphones issues. Boy, Jimmy, I see that. Yes.
I can't hear anybody.
I know. I'm just here talking.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, but
I
you can't hear me. Anybody want to talk about anything in the chat while Dave tries to hear me?
I've already done it.
All right. Now he's got a new set.
Okay, I
Can
got
you hear me? Tell me, can you hear me?
I can.
All right.
That's unfortunate. Sorry about that.
You're back.
Yeah,
We'll do it live.
I think I got it short, but anyway, the last thing I want to talk about was the NWA. Billy Corgan said that that he had two different TV outlets that he could use.
Yeah.
Which is kind of exciting, kid. He said that because YouTube is not that great for wrestling. He said that it's not just him, it's everybody. So I'm kind of excited about that. And they're reinstituting a territory system. I believe the name of the promotion is Exodus Pro. And that's going to be the first official NWA territory. And Ethan Carter's been appearing in OVW as NWA champion. So it's kind of exciting that that the NWA is trying to get back out there and do what made the NWA to begin with. Now I know I already know there's two or three of our close friends that are going to poo-poo all that, but people say those three letters don't mean what they used to, but they still mean something to me. I want to see them. I want to see them succeed. So good luck to them. And speaking of NWA champions, next week on the show, we're going to have a former NWA champion.
And it's not Tommy Rich, everyone. Don't worry.
A former NWA North American champion. We're going to have someone I've been working with since I started, and one of my favorite people in the wrestling business. You can see him every week on the NWA as commentator, and sometimes in the ring. We're going to have former NWA World Champion Mr. Tim Storm on the show.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that. That's going to be awesome.
Mr. Tim Storm. I am super excited to have Tim on.
Back-to-back weeks of really great guests. Having Corey Ryan Forrester on tonight, Tim Storm tomorrow or next week.
We've had a great month with Gio Savage and Volkov and Volkov, Koloff and Brandon Turner, and I think we're gaining some momentum, and we're going, every week. I think we're getting better. We're getting better and better, and hopefully we'll have a big announcement to make about our birthday show, November 2nd.
Absolutely. Cannot wait for next week. I hope you guys can't either. Tim Storm is going to be a lot of fun. Miss Amy will be back next week. She is cheering on Aaron, hopefully kicking some tail in a playoff football game this evening. So good luck, Aaron.
Let me answer Efren. No,
Uh-oh.
I got my Russians confused. It was Vladimir Kolov, not Volkov.
Nikolai was on the show. We wish. Yeah, so join us next week. You got anything else, Dave, before we hop up out of here?
No, just thank you so much for Corey Ryan Forrester giving us an hour of his time tonight, and we can't thank him enough for that. I hope everybody enjoyed, pivoting to comedy. I have a passion for stand-up comedy. I really love it, and having comedians on from time to time would be, to break it up, because we talk a lot of wrestling, but I hope everybody enjoyed Corey Ryan Forrester, and if and hopefully we'll be able to have more comedians on in the future.
Absolutely. So we want to absolutely thank Corey Ryan Forrester for coming on here with us. It was a blast. So for Pondwater Dave, my name is Justin Davis saying take care of yourself and each other. So long, everyone.
Good night.